really excited to start this DevOps journey with you. Um, we will do real cool stuffs here with Azure DevOps. So let's get started. What we will do now, if you remember from the previous lecture, what we are going to do, we are going to deploy a couple of resources both in Azure and AWS cloud with Azure DevOps. And our entire infrastructure will be in Terraform and our pipeline will be running on Azure DevOps. What we will deploy in Azure, we will deploy a simple networking instance that is one network and two subnets. And on AWS, we will deploy one S3 bucket. But in this particular lecture, as I mentioned earlier, that this week we will only focus only on Azure resources. That means we will deploy the Azure infrastructure with Azure DevOps. Moving on, so the project overview and goals, if you remember correctly, the steps what we have defined that whenever we will deploy something in Azure, so we will first import the repository into Azure repository, and then we will trigger a pipeline, and from that pipeline, the resources will be deployed to Azure. So let's not focus on AWS right now because that comes later part of the series or the third part of the video of the series. So today we are going to only focus on deploying Azure resources with Azure DevOps. All right, moving on. So what are the Azure resource deployment architecture diagram? So remember I have given you one architecture diagram that how the authentication works, how the pipeline triggering works and everything, and the diagram looks like this. So our pipeline, our imported pipeline will be uh, our imported repository will be here, and from there whenever we will do create a pull request, our pipeline will be triggered. And whenever our pipeline will be triggered, it will ask Azure DevOps for some credentials. And whenever a temporary credentials will be granted to our pipeline, then it will go to uh, Azure Active Directory or the service connection, and it will ask for a credentials based on whether it is a client secret credentials or whether it is a OIDC credentials. And then the service connection will give back a credentials to our pipeline, and which the pipeline will use to deploy resources to our Azure. So this is as simple as that. But remember, I have uh, promised that not only this part, this entire architecture diagram, the whole authentication part, I will go through in details in this particular lecture. So we will go through in details, step by step, from the first step to the last one where the credentials are accessed, and then the credentials are used, and then it is the resources are deployed. So the whole part I will explain in this particular video. So I will recommend, without skipping, please watch this video entirely so that there is no confusion for you guys, whoever is doing this Azure deployment for the first time with Azure DevOps. Thing that I wanted to, the second point that I wanted to mention here is whether you do it or not, you will remain in the free tier of Azure if you are doing it in the for the first time. That also doesn't matter. So as we will be deploying only one networking infrastructure, you will remain in the free tier. So you will not incur any cost for this purpose of for following me, following through this video. But if you have already crossed the limit or within the 99% of crossing the limit of your budget, and if you are still following the series, maybe you have exceeded your budget because of following this video, then you might incur some costs. So please check your subscription, what the subscription says about you, how much budget you have allocated, and what is the cost parameter or what is the cost resources that you are applying to this particular video or before this particular video. Then you might know that how much cost you might incur because of this, and you might not be into the free tier in case of that. So the first one, Azure resource deployment, the architecture diagram, and what will happen for the first time. So for the first time, what we will do is we will import the repository. So we have a repository in GitHub, and that particular repository we will import in our Azure repository, and from there we will trigger the pipeline. Simple. So for that, what we have to do, we have to import the repository. So first of all, we will import the repository, and on the second part we will create the pipeline. So let's do that. But before doing that, if there are a couple of prerequisites that we have to follow. If you are first time using this Azure DevOps projects, then you have to create a project in your organization, in your Azure DevOps organization. That project will solely be for this purpose of deploying Azure resources that we will do from the scratch. Second, you have to configure your remote state. That means if you are familiar with AWS architecture or Terraform infrastructure, Terraform needs something to hold its remote state. In AWS, we do it in S3 bucket. For Azure, we will have to have one storage account, and within that storage account, we will hold our remote state. So for that, you need to create a subscription if you have not done that. But I have already mentioned in my previous video. Please check the video once, that how can you create a Azure account, and how can you create an Azure DevOps account. The subscription will be automatically allocated to you. So if you have not watched that, please do watch that. Then you will have an idea that how can you create the Azure subscription or the account. So you have to create the subscription, you have to create the resource group, and then you have to create the storage account. Then we can save the remote state. And then comes the second part that we will come later. So first of all, let's go to the Azure DevOps organization and create a project. So here I have opened up my Azure DevOps organization. So my Azure DevOps organization name is Amit. Here we have to create a project. So this two project already exists, and we will not look into this two project. Apart from that, we will create a new project. And to create a new project, just click on the new project and give it a name, maybe demo project. And then description you can give, you don't have to give. It's up to you. Apart from that, apart from giving the project name, we will not change it anything, and we will just click on create. This will take some time for creating the project. We will wait for some seconds, and then I will come back. So now I see my demo project is created, and whenever the project is created, it will automatically divert you to this page, the summary page. So as I said, Azure DevOps is very nice to use. So on the left hand side, you can see the boards, the Jira kind of boards here. The repository, currently there is no repository. Pipelines, currently there are no pipelines. Test plans, if you have any, before deploying the infrastructure to any of the clouds, and artifacts, the artifacts that you hold to store your code base and everything. So this is my demo project. Currently nothing inside in it. So now remember, before importing the project, what I said, there are a couple of prerequisites that we have to meet. So we have to prepare the remote state. How to prepare the remote state? We have to go to our Azure portal where we will be deploying the resources. Now there are two steps. There are two things I have to mention here. Azure DevOps is a different portal, that is dev.azure.com, and Azure portal is a different portal, which is portal.azure.com. So this two can be different. I have created this two account with the same account ID, but you are free to choose your account. You can free to choose your account ID, and maybe those two account IDs are not same for this portal.azure.com and dev.azure.com. How the sync works, that we will come in the service connection phase. Anyway, so whenever we are in the portal.azure.com, here we have to check what is, so Azure, when you create first time the account with Azure in portal.azure.com, Azure assigns one subscription for you. So I have one subscription already, so we can go inside the subscription, and it's a free basic plan where I don't have any kind of development or enterprise license in it. This is my personal plan. This is a free one, and you can see the spending rate or whatever. If you have a what is IAM access control, the cost analysis, the resource group, if you have deployed anything or not, blah blah blah. So this is, on a layman's term, this is a subscription I am holding from Azure to use this Azure portal, and this is a free subscription. Whenever you will create a Azure account, it will automatically be assigned to you. So you can just search here with subscription, or it will automatically come here in your home page in the subscription section. The best is you just search for subscription, and it will come here, and you can go inside the subscription and you can check your subscriptions, what are the subscriptions that you have. Now we come back to the main portal, and then we go inside the subscription. And if we go inside the subscription, now we see that our subscription is assigned. And first of all, here we have to check inside. So in Azure, the subscription is everything. So under the subscription, you will have your resource group. You can see your resources deployed. You can see your permissions, that the application is needed. You can assign the permissions to it. So the why I have mentioned this, because remember our slides, we will deploy one networking infrastructure to Azure portal here. So for that, what we need? We need permissions in our subscription to deploy the Azure network. So on the left hand side, under Azure subscription, we go to resource providers, and under resource providers, we have to select the Microsoft network in our subscription, if it is registered or not. So the best way or the easiest way to do it with Microsoft dot network here. So you see here Microsoft dot network is registered. So if it is not registered, you just select this one and click on register. As it is registered, it is appearing as re-register. Suppose not this one, maybe the NetApp. If you select, now whenever I am selecting NetApp, you select this one and you see here registered option is there. So Microsoft network, if it is not registered, you just click on it and click on registered, and under your subscription the network will be registered. So this is the first step under subscription or Azure subscriptions you have to do. Now the second part, we have to create one resource group. So we select here as resource group, and under resource groups, currently we see some network watcher resource group is created. We will not be bothered about it, so we will first create a resource group. So while clicking on create resource group, we have to select the subscription, give a resource group a name, and I will give it a name as demo resource group. I will give all my resources, whatever I am creating currently, as demo as prefix, so that afterwards I can identify whatever I have created for this demo purpose, so that I can delete. Okay, so on the basic stage, I only have to give the resource group name as demo resource group, and I will click review and create, and that's it. I will create this one. So under resource group, I see the pop-up now, resource group created. I will just refresh this one for a couple of times and see if it appears or not. Now it appears. So demo resource group is created. So this is my resource group, and under the same subscription ID, my resource group is created. Now, what is a resource group? What is a subscription, or what is a resource providers? This is not a Azure tutorial where I can give you the idea about what is resource group and everything and all that. I do hope that you already have an idea about what is resource group and what is its application. So if you don't have any idea, please do watch any kind of videos or search in Google what is resource group, Azure resource group, or you can check the Azure documentation. What are the resource groups and how to create it, why to create it. You will get an idea. So coming back to the home portal, and we see the my subscription is there, and under subscription I have created one resource group. Now third part is we have to create one storage account. Why? Because to hold the remote state of our Terraform. Same thing, to create the storage account, we just select, sorry, what am I typing? Storage accounts, and the storage accounts will appear. And whenever you will click the storage account, it will open up the portal for you to create the storage account. And under the storage account portal, I will select create, and there you have to select your subscription, your resource group, and your storage account name you have to give. Same thing, I will have it as name as demo, then storage group. It needs to have, sorry, it needs to be unique. And then I think it's already taken. Yeah, then I will give some random number. So I hope this will be unique. So this is a unique storage account name, and I will not change anything else. I will not change anything else, and I will create the storage group. I will review and create, and then I will create the storage group. This will take some time, and I will come back when it's finished. So now I see the deployment is in progress. So the storage account deployment is in progress. I will still wait for some time, and I will come back when it is finished. So I see now that your deployment is completed. So I go back to my home, and I see my storage account is created. Nice. My storage account is created under the subscription ID and inside the resource group that we have selected, that is the demo resource group. Awesome. What are the next steps? The next step is to create a container to hold what? To hold our remote state. How to create the container? Under the storage group on the left hand side, you will see the data storage, and under the data storage there are containers. If you click on containers, currently there are no containers apart from the logs. So we create one container and we give it a name as tfstate. So this is the name that we will give, tf state, and I will not change anything at all, and then I will create it. So it is creating the tf state, and my storage account is, and my storage container is created. So inside this container, our remote state, Terraform remote state, we will hold it. So if we go back again in the home page, we see that we have completed all our prerequisites, that we have our Azure subscription, we have created the resource group, and we have created the storage account to hold our remote state. I think we are good to go. Now let's go back to our PowerPoint and let's see what is missing. Now, if we remember the architecture diagram about the authentication, right? Now I am coming back to the authentication part. This is the most important part of your pipeline. How the authentication works from your Azure DevOps pipeline to your Azure portal. This is the very important part, and I do hope you will not skip this part and do listen to me while I'm trying to explain from my best of my capability how this works. Please let me know if I have done any mistake in the comment section. I can modify, and I will modify myself, and then we will go through it together. So remember, our pipeline has triggered. And whenever our pipeline has triggered, it will go, or it will ask for an ID token to our service connection. The service connection that we will be creating now. Basically, a service connection, whenever we will create, it will again get an OIDC configuration token from where? From the Azure portal. In the Azure portal, you can have a service connection, you can give the service connection configured, or you can give the token or JWK's token public key to your service connection with with two or three ways. One is certificate, second is client secret, client ID, and third is OIDC. How? With that registering an app. And whenever the service connection gets the token back, it issues the token to pipeline, and the pipeline hits the token and it goes back to Azure and says that, hey, I have the token and I need to deploy the resources. And then Azure portal verifies the token and it says that, yeah, this public key is valid and you can deploy the resources into my portal. This is how it works. So the most important part is now to create a service connection. Now, there are two ways. If you were from an AWS or background, you know that a service connection or a trust basically works from both way. So, from your DevOps, it has to go to Azure portal, and Azure has to trust it. And from your portal, the trust should also go back to DevOps, and the DevOps should trust it. How you will do it? So the first thing that you have to do, you have to go to your Azure portal and register an application for that. And whenever you will register an application, then the application can have three kinds of authentication. One is certificates, second is client ID and client secret, and third is your OIDC that we will do now. And the OIDC trust will work for your DevOps project. So this is how the trust work from your portal. And the same trust we have to build up in the DevOps DevOps uh, or dev.azure.com in this portal, where we have to create a service connection and give the subscription and the everything and the application registration name, so that the trust can work both ways. Now I will try to explain it in more details, like how the authentication works. Please bear with me. So the Azure deployment resource, the authentication part. So the first of all, what it will do. So we have our workload, and where the workload is, it is in our pipeline. And the first of all, the workload or the pipeline need a token to whom? From our identity provider. And it will ask a token to our identity provider. In this case, this is a service connection. And then it will assign, or the identity provider will assign a temporary credentials to our pipeline. So it will give back a temporary token. Then with that temporary token, the pipeline will go to the application registration that we will do in our Azure portal with the managed identity or the OIDC that we will be creating. And then the application registration will check the trust relationship and validate the token with whom, with our OIDC issuer URL that we have created while creating the service connection and application registration. And if the trust is validated and if the token is valid, then the OIDC issuer URL will grant a token to our application registration, and which in turn come back to our workload. And then the issued token will be used to access resources of our Azure AD resources. So this is how simple it is. If you so I tried my best to give how this registration or application registration works, how the trust works in both way, with Azure DevOps in one part and on Azure portal in one part. So our application, our pipeline will first of all request a token to our DevOps, and then it will issue a token, then the send token to access for access token to our managed identity, in this case our application registration. And then the application registration will check for the trust relationship and validate the token with OIDC, and then OIDC will in turn issue a access token to our payload, and the payload will then take the token and deploy our resources in Azure portal. So this is as simple as that. So now what we will do, if you were fine with this image, or if you have understood the image, you will understand that trust actually works both way. We Azure portal has to trust our DevOps, and DevOps has to trust our Azure portal. Uh, Now, the second part, or not the second part, the most important part is we have to create two things. One is application registration in the Azure portal, and the second part, create the service connection to DevOps portal. So, first of all, let's go to the application portal.azure.com and create the application registration. Now, to register an app, you search with app registration, and it will ask you to continue searching in Microsoft Entra ID, and under the Entra ID or our default directory, on the left hand side under manage, you will see app registrations. So currently you see there are no application are registered. So I have to register an application in the Azure portal. So first of all, I will click on register an app, and then I will select it as demo uh, DevOps app. That's it. I will not change anything else, and I will register the app. So the application is created. You see the demo DevOps app is created, and the most important part, that the application client ID. You see this is the client ID, this is the tenant ID, the application redirect URL and everything. Nothing is currently required. Only application registration is required for this Active Directory under single tenant. And then what we have to do, we have to go under manage and then certificates and secrets. So we have to create a federated identity for our application. So this federated credentials will be used from our DevOps pipeline to assume the permissions required to deploy the resources in this Azure portal. So for that, what we have to do, we have to create an OIDC authentication. So you go to federated credentials, and then under add credentials, click on the add credentials, and then select the last one, where this is not a managed identity. This is a GitHub. This is not a GitHub Actions, because our repository is under Azure DevOps. This is not Kubernetes. This is other issuers. So I will select other issuers, and then we have to give the issuer URL. Now we have to give a issuer URL. So what is the issuer URL? Please read this one. Enter the details of the account that you want to connect with Microsoft Entra ID. These values will be used by Microsoft Entra ID to validate the connection. That means whoever is asking for a connection or asking for any uses of this federated identity, that details we have to give here. So what is the issuer URL? So the issuer URL will be your dev.azure.com, your organization ID, that will try to access the federated credentials of your application. So let's grab the organization URL from Azure DevOps. Now this is the issuer URL. It should be HTTPS then vs token dot dev.azure.com slash then your organization ID. So my organization ID is Amit Nag. So this is the issuer URL. Then the type that we have to explicitly mention, this is for security purpose. This is very important. Then we have to give the type. The type that I will be mentioning here is service connection type. Then the organization, that is Amit Nag, and then the project. The project, remember, we have created as a demo project. So demo hyphen project, that we have to give here, demo hyphen project. That's it basically, and that's it. And one more thing that we have to specify here is the service connection name. Now this is very important, that whenever in the explicit subject identifier, we have to explicitly mention the service connection name. then the service connection that we have to create first. The service connection where we have to create it under the DevOps portal. So we go here into the our project and we go to project settings, and under the project settings we see here the service connections, and currently there are no service connections assigned for this project. So we have to create the service connection. When we click on the create service connection and we select the Azure Resource Manager, then click on next, and whenever you will select the app registration, it will come automatically. The app registration will come automatically, workload identity federation will come automatically, recommended this one, and the scope level is subscription. The subscription will automatically loaded if you have created uh, the Azure portal and the DevOps portal with the same ID. It will automatically take your subscription. So this is my subscription, and under the subscription we have our resource group. Remember the demo resource group that we have created, it should search for the demo resource group. It might take some time, so I will wait for it for search. So now after a couple of minutes it came in. I have to sign in again to my Azure portal. I think this is very bad from Azure that multiple times the connections are lost. Anyway, so I hope Azure will improve this one. Anyway, so I have to select the resource group. So I will select the demo resource group now, and I have to give a service connection name. So I will give the service connection name is as Azure service connection, and I will not change anything else. And I will grant access permission to all my pipelines to this service connection, so that if I create multiple pipelines, then multiple pipelines can access this service connection. And I will click on save. And as soon as I click on save, the service connection name will appear here. So Azure service connection. And now this service connection, you see, this is the issuer URL, this is the subject identifier, uh, workload identity federation, and everything came here. So the service connection name now I will copy, and I remember I have left it here, and we have to give the service connection name now here, and then uh, credentials name of the credentials. So I will give it as OIDC. Maybe description you don't have to give it anything. OIDC Azure, and then I will add it. So my OIDC Azure is added. So my federated credentials for this Azure application is added. Now what we have to do? So we have registered the app. We have created the service connection in DevOps portal. So we should be good to go, right? But there are other things as well, that we have to give the necessary permission to the service principal. We have to go to our subscription, go back to Azure subscription, go to IAM, and we have to give our application the contributor access. Otherwise, whoever will assume the credentials of our application, they cannot deploy anything, because they do not have a permission to deploy anything to our Azure portal. So we have to give them a permission. So under role assignment, so I have to sign in again. This is very bad, very bad from Azure. I am signing in now for 4th times now. Okay, so I again go back to my subscription. Under IAM, I can give this one as under add role assignment, and under the role assignment I will select this privileged administrative role, that is the contributor role. Click on next and select members, and I will search for the demo app here, demo DevOps app. This application I want to give access. So I gave this application a contributor access to my subscription, and I will just review and assign, and I will go back to role assignment. I see that now my application have a contributor access. to my subscription, so it can deploy resources inside my subscription. So this is done. So a final recap, what we have done. So basically what we have done, we have created a Azure DevOps project, that is our demo project. And then we came back to our Azure portal where we have created the resource group, where we have created our storage account, and we have created our application registrations. So, and under the application registration, we have created the OIDC, federated OIDC principle under here. Uh, so under app registration, Microsoft Entra ID. So I will so under app registration, if we go to manage and then see the app registration, we have one registered app here. This is all application under demo DevOps app, and we have given the application access to our subscription as a contributor access. This is what we have done. Next, what we have to do, we then I think all of our prerequisites is done. Next thing, what we have to do, we have to import the project into, or we have to import the repository into Azure DevOps. So for that, I have already created a repository here, Azure DevOps deploy Azure resources. This is a public repository. You can also take a look into it. And for the pipeline building, I will take a help from this text file. I will show you how to do that. But before that, before deploying that, we have to create couple of variables inside the pipelines. So to do that, we go to the pipeline, and under library, we have to create one variable group. So the variable group name, I can give it as demo group, and we have to add couple of variables. What are the variables? So you can just copy it from here. So backend resource group name. So these variables will be used by our pipeline. So this is why the variables are needed, and this is how the variables works inside a library of Azure pipelines. So you can define your variables here, and later on you can use the variables into your pipeline. You can also use secrets into the pipeline, but for demo purpose, you can use the variables here. So first of all, we have to give the backend resource group name. So we go back to our Azure portal, and we go to our resource group, and we select the resource group name here, demo resource group, and give it here. Second thing, backend Azure storage account name. We click another one, backend Azure storage account name. We go to home, storage group. So this is the storage account, and let me select this one and copy it here. This is my storage account name. The third one is storage account container name. So remember, the container that we have created is tfstate, tfstate. Third one is storage account key name. This one is free to choose. Basically, Terraform give the or stored the state file with terraform.tfstate, this name. So the storage account key name is this one. Then the client ID. Client ID is your application ID. So we have to go to the application registration here under the app registration, under the Microsoft Entra ID, and inside it we have this app registration, all applications, we have this up. So this is our, what is needed is client ID. So this is our client ID. You see here, this is our client ID. We copied it and now pasted it, and I will add another one, a subscription ID or the tenant ID directly, so that we are in the same page, so that I can just take the tenant ID as well. And this is the tenant ID, and then we have to give the subscription ID, the last one, the subscription ID. The subscription ID, where we will get it, we will go back to our Azure portal, and we click on the subscription, and then from here this is our subscription ID, and that's it basically, and I will click on save. Now this variable group, this demo group is required in each and every pipeline. So whenever we will be importing the whole project and we will create the pipeline, you see I will change the demo group name there. So my library, so my variables are created. Now where I will go to pipeline, or first of all let me go to repo, sorry. So we have to import a repository, right? So we go back here and click on code and the HTTPS link of it, and copy this one and come back here and import a repository, and under the repository type I will select git and I will clone the repository and I will select import. By this, under this demo project the repository will be imported. Whenever the repository will be imported, I will show you what are the code inside of it. So let's go to the code view. Now these are the simple Terraform script where inside the main.tf you see we are using locals of naming prefix of VNet name, what it will have, and then we are getting the resource group name from our data variable, and we are creating one app VNet, Azure VNet, nothing else. That's it. And for that, we have a variable where we have to change the resource group name here. And here the naming prefix is defined, the common tags is defined, VNet address space is defined, subnet configuration is defined. This is very simple. One VNet with two subnets. That's it. Nothing else. I will not elaborate the Terraform here because I do hope you already know Terraform and how it works. So you can go through the code. This is very, very easy. The main.tf outputs.tf, it's only outputting the subnet IDs. You can output whatever you want, but that's it, the code. Whenever we will be deploying the code, we just have to change the Azure resource group here and give our resource group name, and that's it, and we have to deploy. Now my code is here. Okay, my code is here, my variable group is ready. What next we have to do? We have to create the pipeline. That is the most important part. So we go pipelines and then we create the pipeline. Yes, I want to create the pipeline, and we will select Azure repos git, this one, and then we have to select a repository. In this case, this is the demo repository, and then we have to select a pipeline. In this case, we will select the starter pipeline. Now the starter pipeline, so first of all we will create two pipeline. One is validation and planning, and the second one is apply. So validation and planning pipeline will only validate the Terraform files and it will generate a plan out of it. And the second one is the apply one, where it will apply the resources to the Azure portal. So this one is, as this one is validate and plan, so I will change the name here as validate plan, and then the code is already here. If you go back the text, remember I told you that I will take help from the text itself. So the code is here. I will just copy this code. You also have to copy this code, and then I will replace everything with my validate and plan. What I have to change here is the variable group name. Remember the variable group that we have created. The variable group, let's take the variable group name is the demo group. This is my variable group name. So we are changing the variable group name under line number 7, and the service connection name. The service connection name is also something that we have created in the project settings, or you can also check it in the application registration. But the best way to check it under the project settings, we go inside the project, and under the service connection, we click on this one and copy the service connection name, and that's it. This is the service connection. This pipeline will run not on main branch. So whenever the main will be deployed, it will not run on that. It will only run on the pull request of the main branch. And apart from that, everything is very easy. We are only doing Terraform install and Terraform validate, Terraform init and Terraform validate. And this one is very important, line number 61. We are using the OIDC, Azure OIDC principle. That's why we have initiated, or we have um, used, or we have created the OIDC, federated identity providers. And apart from that, everything else is very easy. You can go through it. If you have any confusion, please let me know in the comment section, uh, and I will try to explain it more if you want in another video. So I will try to save and run this pipeline now, but I think it will fail. So I will deploy this into the main branch. I will save and run it. So let's see. So the pipeline is skipped now. Both are skipped, which is uh, which is which is correct. Now again we go back to our pipeline and we create a second pipeline, which will be the application pipeline. First of all, let me just rename the pipeline. This one rename. So this will be uh, validate and plan pipeline. I will save it and now create a second pipeline uh, with my Azure repository gift with the same project starter pipeline, and this will be apply pipeline, and the code is after this one. So this is my apply pipeline, and I will copy it before destroy. Before up to line number 165 I will copy and I will paste it here. And this one is very interesting. The group is something we called demo group, that also we have to change, and the service connection name is Azure service connection, and that's it. So this includes the main branch. So whenever there will be a merge request inside the main, then the apply pipeline will run. And this also, and we also have to change the previous pipeline from where the plan file will be taken. So our previous pipeline name, that is the validate and plan pipeline, and it will take the plan file from that pipeline, and it will do Terraform init. It will use the OIDC principle and do the Terraform apply using OIDC. That's it, very simple. And I will save and run it inside the main branch. Now it will also be skipped. This is the this should be the ideal scenario. So the demo project, I will try to rename it now, and I will rename it to apply. So both of the pipeline is deployed and both of the pipeline is okay. All right. So let's see. Is it still running? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So first of all, remember we have created the uh, library variable group inside our library, but there is something that I wanted to show you, is that the variable group cannot be accessed by the pipeline. Why? Because we did not give any permission to the variable group to any of our pipeline. What we have to do, we have to go inside the variable group and select the variable group and go to pipeline permissions and give the pipeline permissions, the validate and plan pipeline and the apply pipeline. Both of them we have to give permissions so that the variable groups can be accessed by our pipeline. Now, if I go back to our pipeline where our apply pipeline was stuck, and if we see, it might run, but it will fail. It will check out the code, everything will be done, but under Terraform apply or Terraform init, it will fail because there is no planning file uploaded. So let's wait. I want to show you that it might fail. Yeah, artifact plan file was not found because we did not run the planning pipeline. So we have to run the planning pipeline first. So for that, what we have to do first, we have to go to repo, and this is the main branch. And first of all, we create a new branch out of it. Okay, so we give it a name as first deploy branch, and we create it. So this is the branch is created. Now we go back to our branches. We have to give one policy so that our validation and plan pipeline should invoke whenever there is a commit pull request. So we go to branch policies, and then under policies, build validation, we select the validate and plan pipeline. So this should run under which condition? The condition should be triggered automatically whenever the source branch is updated, and the display name should be validate. So this is my build pipeline. So the build pipeline should run whenever there is a pull request. So I will save it now. The validation is required. Now I go back to my repository and I am inside the branch. So remember what we have to do. We have to change our variable group. This variable group is not correct. So what are the resource group? Sorry, resource group. So this resource group is not correct. So what are the resource group? So we go back to our subscription or we go back to our portal, and then under resource group, we select the demo resource group that we have created. We come back under variables.tf, edit, and give it demo resource group and commit it. And we will commit it inside our branch that we have created, and we commit it. And then we create a pull request. Whenever the pull request will be created, we hope, or I hope, at least the validate and plan pipeline should run. I will create the pull request now. Now the validation is running. Now we go back to our pipelines and the validate and plan. We see this is running. So let's see the status. The checkout is running. Let's wait for some time. Install is still not running. Format no, init no, validate no. Still running. Okay, now it's done. So what it did? So it initializes the job and then check out the code, installed Terraform, format the Terraform files, initialization has been done with our remote state or the storage account that we have created. The validation is done whether our configuration or the Terraform files are valid or not. Then post job cleaning is done. Then everything is done, and then the planning pipeline is running. Let's see what it is doing. Installing Terraform initialization is also done. That means our state file is somehow loaded. Let's go to the storage account and let's see how it's working. So we go to the storage account, and no, it's I am inside the storage group. Sorry, resource group. Yeah, this is the storage account. Sorry, I was in the correct one. And then inside containers, we go to the container that we have created. Now we see that terraform.tf state is there. Okay, great, awesome. So our planning is done. I hope, yeah, the planning job ran correctly. So if we go back to pipeline, our validate and plan ran correctly. Perfect. So our validation and planning is correctly done. So we can check what Terraform plan it created. So it created three to add. What are the three things? Virtual network, Azure subnet, and the second subnet. So two subnet and one virtual network. Awesome. So the Terraform has created it should create, it should create two subnets and one Azure network. Now we come back to our pull request and we see that validation is passed, no merge conflict, and we have to complete the pull request. Click on complete and merge, move forward, do not change anything, complete merge. This will merge the changes to our main branch, and whenever there is a main branch commit happening, remember what it should do. It should trigger the apply pipeline. So our apply pipeline is triggered. Let's see what it's doing. So it's again checking out the code, downloading pipeline artifact. I will just wait for some time to it to finish. Okay, now I see the Terraform apply is also completed. So I just came directly to the apply and see Terraform apply is done. Subnet ID, one is application subnet, another is a web subnet, and three things added. And if I go back to pipeline, now both of the pipeline is fine. The validate and plan pipeline is ran, and apply pipeline is done. And if I go back to my Azure portal, I go to the resource group, and inside the resource group, I see one virtual network is deployed. Oh my God, I did not change the name. This is a very uh, bad name. Anyway, I did not change it. Please change the name before you deploy. And if we see the properties or the topology here, let's see. Yeah. So if we just um, if we just zoom in, we see that one application subnet and one web subnet is deployed. So the application subnet is this one. And if we go back to view details, we see two subnets. One is web and another one is app. So the web subnet is this one. The starting address is with 24 siders, and this is the application subnet. This is the cider range and 24 cider. All right, and our main virtual network is also deployed under the demo resource group. Address space is this one. Awesome. So we have deployed uh, Azure virtual network with Terraform using Azure DevOps. So isn't it fascinating? Isn't it very useful? Or that the guys that came from AWS world and tried their hands on first time with Azure DevOps? I hope you really like this video. So remember what we did. So we have created a Azure DevOps pipeline, which is running on Terraform and deploying resources on Azure based on the OIDC principle, not with any client ID or secret ID. This is very important. So this is much more secure. If you want to destroy your resources using Azure DevOps, there is another part that I have given here, the destroy pipeline. This part, whenever you create a pipeline with this one, this will also deploy the resources with the one that you have created before with apply pipeline. Remember, the only thing that you have to remove or replace is the uh, library, the variable group name, and the Azure connection, and the planning pipeline name. In this case, this is validate and plan, so I will not my domain. So this is a work that you might have to do or you should do, and let me know in the comment section how did you do it, or if you face any issue while doing that. And if you at all face any issue while doing that, or following the whole infrastructure or following the whole demo with me, please let me also know in the comment section how it went. So thank you, and I really wanted to show you this one, how we can use Azure DevOps to deploy resources uh, to Azure portal. I hope you really like this video. This is the second part of the series where we have deployed this. The next part will be very much interesting and more interesting, I would say, for the AWS folks, where we will deploy a AWS resource using the Azure DevOps. And this time, we will not use any kind of Azure pipeline. We will use Azure pipeline, sorry, we will not use any kind of Azure repository. Rather, we will use the GitHub repository directly. So it will be more interesting for you guys. So I do really hope you enjoy this video, and I really looking forward to have the next session with you in my next video, where we will deploy the Azure, AWS resources with Azure DevOps using the OIDC principle, not with any user ID or secret ID or any kind of uh, uh, any that kind of thing. So I really hope you like this video. If you are new to this channel, kindly like, share, subscribe, and comment your thoughts. Let me know what you liked and where I can improve. Let me know if you face any issue while following through this video in the comment section, so that I can try to resolve those. Otherwise, I will be back with the third and final part of our DevOps learning, Azure DevOps learning. Till then, take care and goodbye.